Hello, friends of volleyball. After a few months of pause, I have once again felt like I need to talk and interview and meeting players and people related to volleyball. And I want to talk about the careers, the stories. Today, in addition, I'm starting a new series of interviews with a great friend. I'm referring to Alex Castillo from Mexico, creator of Plus Volleyball channels, where he has also interviewed almost 300 people from our beautiful sport. Today, together, we are with our great guest, an Italian player, Olympic medalist, Italian champion with his club in many occasions. He has participated in 4 Olympic Games with different roles, competing as an athlete. He was a bronze medalist in Los Angeles 1984, working as Paralympic director at the Turin 2006 Winter Olympics, then managing volleyball event as technical delegate of the IVB in Beijing 28 and London 2012. Skiing, hiking, and from now on, also climbing are his favorite leisure activities. I'm referring to Piero Rebaudengo, with whom we will talk about today his life linked to sport. Hello, Piero. How are you?
Hello, everybody. I am fine, thank you. I don't want to be, let's say, rude at the beginning, but I have to correct you. I now get the sixth Olympic because I had the other 2 Olympics after London,
Fantastic.
Tokyo and Paris. So
Super.
I just update.
Fantastic. It's okay because I'm an old person. I need to update sometimes in the
Yes.
internet information. Fantastic. So Piero, first of all, tell me please when and where and why did you start playing volleyball in your youth?
I started when I was 13, 14 years old. I was born in Torino, and Torino is my hometown. And I started because I had the opportunity to see some top volleyball matches. At the time was the University Games in Torino, 1970. And it was a crazy, let's say, attendance for the volleyball team, for the Italian volleyball team, that at the time won the gold medal in the university game. And I was a young student, a young child. And I went with my family to see the volleyball matches that at the time I didn't know, and I was felt in love for volleyball. And immediately after the university games, due to the success of the Italian team, some clubs at the time was CUS Torino, University Club of Torino, that started with a project to have volleyball players and started scouting recruitment of young let's say students that wanted to start with volleyball, and that was my start of volleyball.
Oh, it's amazing! It's amazing how all the volleyball international personalities, their beginnings in volleyball. You know, I have heard different stories, but it's amazing how Piero got involved. Piero, how was your first years playing at school in volleyball? It was your only sport, or did you play other sports?
But as usual, when you are 12, 13, 14, and maybe before, you start with several different sports. The first, as an Italian, was football. Everybody would like, at the time, like probably also today, to play football. But my, let's say, football ability was not so good due to my age. I was at 14 almost close to 185, and so I was not very comfortable with skills for football. And then I moved to volleyball due to the fact that I mentioned before. A kind of legacy that a big event left to the territory of Torino.
It's amazing. Sometimes we, as you say, people started to play after a big event. In your case, was this university championship. And how was your history from playing to school, being young, and later to become a national player?
Was you know, I don't want to say a case, but when you start, you are comfortable with the sport. You are inserted into a team. The team was at the time a big team, not as after, but was one of the best team of the city. And I started with the lower categories, junior and youth categories, and then the chance was to be part of a big change of our club that decided to invest in the young players. It was 76 at the time, 75. And the decision was to start the Serie A, was a club, the category, was the first league, with a young team. I was 17. I had some teammates of the same age, few a little bit older, but not too much, 2-3 years older. And then was our possibility to grow together, because at the time it was we had the chance to invest in ourselves and not to be evaluated only on the results. And the rest became a good story. Good story.
Yeah, you mentioned the years 75, 76. How different how different is Italian volleyball from those years, almost 50 years ago? Today, I mean, the women's have won the gold medal 2 weeks ago, and the men's have won the world championship 2 years ago. How different it is to have the exact picture of that time?
But that time was also very different from 10 years after, not only compared to today. That time, the middle of 70, Italian volleyball was one of the lowest volleyball in the world, but the thanks to some result, thanks to some people that use the brain to grow, investing in events, and that was the case of University Games, was the case of the World Championship in 78, Junior World Championship in 85, and so on. It was a good project with the research of players and import of foreign players to give us the possibility to learn how to play. Going directly to the question, Alejandro, the volleyball was another volleyball. Is difficult to compare, even if at that time, and I am talking about the year 74, 76 and later, it was a different approach from some countries like Poland, like Bulgaria, in order to find, and later Italy, France, US, Brazil, how to fight and to play with the dominance of Russia.
Absolutely.
Right. Thanks a lot.
The good thing of doing this for the first time with Alex is I think my camera was off. I think now my camera is on and people can see me. Okay, it's part of our experimentation with this, Alex. It's okay. And I wanted to ask you, Piero, about your experience in Los Angeles, 84, because I have the great opportunity to speak with Silvano Brandi and also with Franco Bertoli and Gianni Lanfranco, who played with you in these Olympic Games. And how was it for you to be part of this team, be part of the process, to put on the bronze medal? How was it for you as a person and also as a player?
But as a person, player, as a person also, it's, to have the opportunity to play the Olympic Games is is a dream. Is how to reach a dream, how to reach something that maybe only 7-10 years before was even not managed by us, because to play at the Olympic Games, first of all, you have to be qualified. It's not only yourself, but is your team. Your team has to pass through events that qualify to the Olympic Games. Then you have to be part of the team. And is another, let's say, qualification at the time. And you know probably the history, but the team of Los Angeles was based on the Torino's club team, because 6 of us on top the coach were let's say belonging to the Custorino. It means that for us probably was easier to be part of the team, but in the meantime we had a great result, because was the first Olympic medal in the history of the volleyball of Italy, as was for Brazil the silver medal in LA.
I'm going a little out of the script, my dear Alfredo, but you are talking about Los Angeles 84 Olympics. Next week, I will interview for the second time to Karshkirali, who I think is the greatest player of all time, three-time Olympic medalist as a player, 2-time Olympic medalist as a coach. When you turn back and see 84 Olympics, what are your thoughts about first the American program and Karshkirai? How was the impact of Karshkirai in those years, in 84 and 88? They were Olympic champions.
Again, because I am a fan of history of volleyball, Karshkirali was also one of the 3 gold medals he won was in beach volleyball, and still he remained the only one that had that won medals in beach and in indoor volleyball or cold volleyball. This is also not only Karch, but was a system that was invented by the coach Doug Bill, that changed the volleyball. Changed the volleyball, starting from the positioning of the 6 players into the field of play, the specialization of the roles that even now, 40 years after, is still the same, let's say, way to play, with different skills, with different physical attitude, but we are still playing now in volleyball with 2 receivers, 1 opposite, 2 middle blocker that do not receive, and of course the setter. We until LA, 11 over 12 teams, yes, 11 over 12 teams, maybe we were 10 teams. 9 over 10 teams were playing with the same system. The system, I mean the rotation of the players. everybody except the setter were positioned into the receiving position. Only the US team were playing with Aldis Berdins and the Karchkirali as receivers. No other player were positioned into the reception of the team. And that was the biggest revolution of the volleyball after probably the second, the 10-foot line hitting, the second line spiking. That was another big revolution. But if you want, I can tell you some history on it, because was a revolution on the position of some players, like Poland played for the first time, but before Poland was a Hungarian player called Buzek that was also spiking from the second line. He was the only player that spiked in that team in the year early 70 and end of 60.
Yeah. It's a very interesting thing that we are talking about the styles of play, as you're telling us, Piero. For example, the Polish player Tomasz Wojtowicz, he from Poland, or the Japanese school that we see today is getting so great at Olympics and the BNL, but the Italian school of play. How do you feel that this team from '84, or maybe the next generation, where you started to be part of this with players like Lucchetta, later with Gardini, Sorsi, Cantagalli, Toffoli, evolving, Bernardi, were evolving to be one of the best teams of history. How was your vision about this, and how do you think? Maybe also with Velasco, were able to get to the top of the volleyball, and also to create a way of play volleyball, and to make it so successful.
It's a good question. It's not so easy to answer with the one line of meaning. I mean, there was at the time a combination of factors that let's say involved the growth of the Italian team. The first factor was the decrease of some countries that at the time were at the top. I'm talking about the '89 changed the world also in sport. '89 means that Russia, Bulgaria, Poland, Czech Republic, that were better than Italy at the time, decreased for political reason. Political reason, and was a kind of revolution. Former Yugoslavia, Romania, were countries that normally they were better than us. The second was the planning that had the Italian Volleyball Federation in the year end of 70, beginning of 80, when they started to look for players at certain height.
Yeah.
It was called at the time in Italian Progetto Altezza, means height project. Several high players went to volleyball, attracted by some project of the Italian Federation. And if you see that the team of the '85 that you were there, Alfredo, almost let's say 8 over 12 were over or close to 2 meters. that was a big evolution. And then, thanks to Velasco, the change of mentality of the Italian players. We have to recognize that Julio went through some new way to coach, to train, to adapt the players to the circumstances, not to have always the Italian style to say, we lost because the lights, we lost because the referee, we lost because we had some headache the day before because the travel was so long, etc., etc., etc. That was the real change of the Italian way to approach events and approach matches, thanks to Velasco.
Piero, at what point in your life did you realize that you could make a life in volleyball, working and as a professional athlete?
In reality, Alex, I didn't never think that I wanted to become a professional player. I wanted to enjoy to play. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to stay with friends, of course, to win. I wanted to increase my level, but I never thought that volleyball would be my life. But not only because there were no money in volleyball. That was, of course, if you had not the possibility to survive or to work and to earn from one work on one job, you have to change. But the mentality at that time was that you have to play until you enjoy. And think about your future when you are playing. So that was the reason why the generation of player like me finished to play around 28 to maximum 32 years old.
Yes, absolutely. It's also very interesting what you're saying, Piero, because after the Junior World Championship in '85, we, the Chilean team, we went back to Chile to continue study. I was in school, and my big friends were at the university. But the Italian players, the Brazilian players, I don't know, many from other countries, went back to their clubs. And we asked them, what you do in the club? It's my work, they tell us. And we looked at each other, and we understand that we are very, very far away from the first world in volleyball. So it's understandable what you're saying, because many players can and today make a life of volleyball. And I wanted to ask you now, Piero, going maybe a little back to your beginning in volleyball or in your youth, do you have some figures that maybe you admire? Because why I'm asking this, because many young players from today can see many players, and he starts in social media, in internet, in YouTube, and many says, I want to play like I don't know, like Engapet. I want to play like many players. In your time, did you have some models to emulate, or maybe absolutely not? You wanted only to play as Piero Rebaudengo?
No. My idol and my star was Mario Mattioli. Was an Italian player that unfortunately passed away some years ago. That was a setter, was a modern setter, was the setter of the team that won the gold medal in university game in Italy. And I think I have, but I have to find also his autograph that he made me in that game. I had the opportunity to know him, to play against him. I knew him very well. We hadn't the possibility to play in the same national team because he stopped when I started national team, but he was my idol. In volleyball, was my idol was Mario Mattioli. In other sport, I hadn't any other even if I was a fan of some kind of athletes, like some track and field athletes, like Edwin Moses, which was a guy that I also had the opportunity to see live in LA, and also two basketball players that at the time were not so famous like they became. That play in LA for the US team, Michael Jordan and Pat Ewing, that were, of course, already well-known athletes, but not NBA players. They were players of the University of Georgetown, Pat Ewing, and North Carolina, Michael Jordan. But I am a witness of their lifestyle during the village nights in LA.
Until today, what has you been the championship or the title in the national team you remember the most, and that you liked, and what you like the most?
Oh, the most I like is the medal in LA. For easy reason, because it's still something that remain in our heart. We had this year the 40th anniversary, and we were not. I'm talking about my other 11 colleagues. We were not able to find the time to celebrate this anniversary, but we will do before the end of the year, because 40 years is important. Most important is that fortunately we are still in good health, everybody. So this is also important, that we would like also to celebrate very soon. Another big memory I have in national team was, let's say, not a nice memory, but I still remember, and was the year 80, mm-hmm. when we had we were qualified to the Olympic Games in Moscow, but at that time I was in the army as a mandatory position in Italy. At that time was a mandatory service. And our government in the year 80 didn't give the possibility to the athletes in the army to participate to the games. And that was, to me, a suffering moment in my career, because I was in the national team. I deserved to go to the Olympics. We were qualified as a team. I was part of the team, and I was also the setter of the team, but something above me, above us, that we didn't understand, and until now I do not understand, didn't allow me the possibility to participate to the games. This matter is also related to the actual situation, to other situations that involve sport with the general politics, that is important to remind, and also important to remind to my country that only 42 athletes of the Italian delegation were not able to participate to the games in Moscow, for this kind of boycott. Once again, at the Italian style, because other 250 athletes went to Moscow, but the athletes that at the time were in the army hadn't the possibility.
Yes, we understand. Sadly, politics many times makes such an impact in our sport. Absolutely.
It's an impact in the sport because it's part of the history.
Yes.
We know that the history of the Olympic Games is full of this strange situation, even now, because Russia is out. Let's say in the year of, let's say, 80-84 were two different boycotts. In 76, more than 50 countries from Africa boycotted the games of Montreal.
Before in the 36, where the Nazis were the host of the Olympics. No, you're right, absolutely. And part of our interviews with Alex is not only to interview players from today. Our project includes many players like you or players who played in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 90s, because we think it's so important to remember and to honor. As you say, your 40 years from LA, it's a very big and important achievement for Italy in sport also. So we are doing this with a lot of love for and respect for the players, and also to show the world and the people, especially to the young people, that before them, there's so many volleyball, especially in Italy. We know that the World Championship in 78 in Rome was also a big impact for your country. So we wanted to continue with our conversation with Alex and you, Piero, asking you how was your maybe your last years as a professional volleyball players, because in your time, maybe the athletes retired about 28 or 30 years, and this time 30 years was a very old player for volleyball. But how was your last years, and how did you manage or thought about to be an ex-athlete in Italy?
That is part of the concept that I tried to explain before, which is I didn't consider me a professional player in terms of profession, in terms of job of work, but in terms of attitude, of course. I decided at a certain moment to stop because I was lucky. I finished. I am graduating in pharmacy. And so I continued to study during my life as a player. And at a certain moment, I arrived to the dilemma: what I want to do. I want to continue to play until somebody will ask me to play, or I decide by myself which is my next step, my next career. And due to the fact that I was graduated, I put myself in the condition to make a choice that I never regret. I mean, when I decided. I did it, even if, and I tell you that also 2 years after. 3 years after my retirement, I had clubs that offer me a lot of money to, let's say, be back to play. But at that time, I was working for a pharmaceutical company, and I decided do not be back, because that was another let's say page of my life.
Piero, you mentioned that in the 70s, volleyball wasn't as big in Italy as is now. But right now, what do you think about this current Italian school of volleyball? There are a lot of successful Italian coaches around the world, starting with Stefano Lavarini in Poland, Andrea Gianni now with France, Santarelli with Turkey, Guidetti with Serbia. And also maybe Julio Velasco. He's Argentinian, but he's almost Italian. What do you think about this? It's amazing. This Italian school.
But it's I don't know if it's an Italian school, because it's a Italian methodology. because the school, if I have to speak about school of volleyball, my only referment is Doug Bill. He made a school.
Yeah.
If we go back before, we had the school of Wagner, the Polish coach, was another school. Platonov, the Russian coach, was a school of coaching, of...
Did you consider Eugenio George from Cuba another school?
Cuba was another school, but very close to the Russian evolution of... they were crazy on the fundamental of players, not on the specialization. Then the school of Doug Bill went to the specialization. Italy, I guess they had the opportunity to find and to pick some of everything and to combine together. But now the Italian movement is important because we have two of the most important leagues all over the world, women and men both, with a lot of foreign players that like to play volleyball in Italy, that imported in Italy. They exported, but we imported their skills. And so it's difficult to find something that Italy made as a first, that we can say it's a school, but I would prefer to say that is a kind of management, kind of good combination of different best practice of others.
Amazing.
Absolutely. Yes. And sorry, Alex. I was thinking about when we speak, for example, with my son. He loves soccer. He plays soccer. He tells me all the time, think about this. Italy not only have good sport. You build cars, you build ships, you build airplanes. The music is fantastic. The cuisine, the food is amazing. The tourism. Italy has something, I don't know, in your veins, in your genetics that makes things so loudly effective. I don't know why. It's history. I don't know. It was Rome. It's a mystery for me. So I wanted to ask you now, Piero, about that. When we started to talk, I told that you were in 4 Olympics. You told me you were in 6 Olympics, but not only as a player. Please tell me about what did you do after you was a player, and what did you make in the other Olympics as a technical director? I don't know. Please tell us about your Olympic history.
Okay, so first of all, I have to tell you that I jump into the Olympic movement by chance, because I had the opportunity to change my work from the pharmaceutical environment to the sport, thanks to the fact that we had the Olympic Games in Torino, my hometown. And so I was applying for this position of director of the Paralympic Games, because I knew some of the top manager of them, and they offered me this position. The history is strange, but is also peculiar, because I can say now at my age that I had the possibility to join the games with different perspectives. I was a client as an athlete, a privileged client, because you are in the side of having the possibility to evaluate also the service. Then I was in the other side of the bench. I was in the organization in Torino. Organizers of the Olympic Games are not the owner of the process, but the provider of the process. which is also important because you have to follow contracts, you have to follow level of services, you have to even comply positively with your clients, which are not only the players, not only the athletes, but are the National Olympic Committees, other stakeholders like media, like the TV, right holders, like sponsors, etc. And you have to do your job properly. Then I went in a third side, which is the side of the international federations, who are the owner of the regulation of the sport. So you have to comply with the needs of clients, athletes, needs of provider, organizers, and put your expertise as owner of the rules of your game, of your sport, that can happen in the proper way. And so I would like to say that I am happy. And now I did it with another sport that was not my sport, because sport climbing is not my sport, but I had and I have different experience, not only technical experience, but also organization and management experience to put at the disposal of another international federation. I am not a technical person into the climbing federation. I am the manager of that oversee almost everything, but with different competencies.
Absolutely.
Piero, you mentioned you are right now in the sport climbing. Did you know that Doug Bill was the head of USA Surfing for almost 3 years? I mean, it's great that the Olympic movement is getting all this experience and wisdom from people like you and Doug Bill, of course.
But and exactly, this was my fortunate, let's say, step being in the sport climbing, because I had different experience. Climbing, like surf, like skateboarding, are new sport in the Olympic scenario, and means that they needed to have a different experience. And I was very, very glad and lucky to be selected as a manager of this sport, thanks to my previous experience.
Fantastic. Yes.
And Doug, this is also something that somebody probably remember. When Doug started the project of Los Angeles, he started in the year 80, immediately after Moscow.
I know perfectly the story. Yeah.
And he went to a kind of survival, let's say,
bonding implementation. Yes.
Having climbing as a part of putting together athletes in order to find and to set up a good team. Because climbing is also something that you depend on your teammate. If you take your rope hard and strong, your teammate is let's say, trust on you, and you trust each other. And that was one of the scope of Doug to set up a great team for LA.
Yeah. It was a fantastic story, and also not many players were very happy with this excursion, because many
some of
players
them
understand why we must have do climbing. We are volleyball players. We play in the court, not climbing mountains.
We want to be on the beach surfing, not here in the snow climbing.
But one of these players was also playing with me in Torino, that he went out of this team. He was one of the best players at that time, was Tim Hovland.
Yes.
that he didn't go to LA because he went with some discussion with Doug, with other players.
Piero, Tim Hovland will be inducted this year to the International Volleyball Hall of Fame.
I see. But in beach volleyball, not in volleyball.
Yes, beach volleyball. Yes. Good.
I know him very well because we played together in Torino for 3 years. It was a nice time, very nice time.
It's amazing. We have so many stories to speak about, and finally, for the time of Alex, I want to be closing this conversation to thanking you again, Piero. We could talk about hours about this, but we know we have to work. But it's so amazing for us, for me and Alex, from very far away from the first world of volleyball, to be able to speak with you and your teammates, because you're part of history. You did history, you make history, and you're making history. So for us, it's so amazing because we love volleyball, and part of this stories, not only the sport stories of the events, but also the as I said before, the experience of the person as a player, as part of a team, part of a project, is for us very, very important. So we wanted to thank you again, Piero, for your time. Send you a big hug from Chile, Alejandro from Mexico, because we wanted to, and especially because you're our first guest for this new project with Alex, with his Canal Plus Voleibol, and myself with Amor por el Voleibol, Love for Volleyball.
I thank you very much also, and feel free to contact me anytime if you want to know something different, or to, let's say, maybe have a better explanation or something.
I have one more question for you, Piero. I know it's difficult, it's very difficult, but for you, which will be your ideal 6 team of all time?
Men or women?
Ever. I mean, which position did you play? Setter. Okay. If you have to arm a team, which players would you select based on their skills, on their personality? It's hard. I know it's hard.
It's hard because I can give you 2 different answers. One is first before a rally point system, and after.
Yes.
Okay.
With the side out was different, and after side out, some legends. I have. If I have to choose a setter, I choose Mitko Karov, Bulgarian setter.
Mm-hmm.
Was one of the best. Opposite, I can tell you, even if it was not an opposite, but was Eddie Skorek, another second line.
Yes.
Middle blocker, I can tell you, Tomek Vojtovic, and my friend Gianni Lanfranco. The 2 outside hitter, difficult, but of course we have to put Oleg Moliboga from Russia, and probably somebody more recent, but I would like to put Japanese, Tanaka.
Yes, fantastic players. Yes.
Then I don't want to say others, because I probably forgot most of the athletes, but there were a lot. Then
and which coach would you select to lead this team?
Matsudaira from Japan.
Right. Perfect.
A legend. I never see him. I had some talks at the end of his life when I was working in the FIVB. But it was his attitude was respectful for everybody, and he also deserves respect from everybody.
Fantastic. I want to invite you, Piero, and our viewers to watch this interview, to follow our channels, Plus Volleyball. I later will put the links in our copy and the text and our graphics. Also follow my channels, because we live and we get so excited when people watch our interviews, our contents, because as I told before, we love volleyball and want to spread and amplify what people like you, Piero, has made and is doing for sport around the world. So I thank you again. Also, my friend Alex, in this first experiment of a dual conversation. So dual interviews, not conversation. We are 3. So many thanks again, and we see you soon in this new project.
Ciao. Thank you.
Thanks again, Alfredo. Piero.
Bye.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Bye-bye.